whole crew with me today. Better watch it. Rolling with my crew right there. All right, good to see everybody. Before I get going, just want to extend a warm welcome to our new president, who will be here in July, Dr. Rebecca Cunningham. Really looking forward to meeting her and getting to know her. Look forward to working alongside her as well. So just want to extend a very warm welcome. I'm really excited for spring ball. Obviously, 2024 is upon us. Love what our players have done in January and February. We'll talk about that. Astronomical numbers in the weight room, on the field. And now we got to put it together with football. So that's going to be the exciting part. Just want to extend our congratulations and also all the best moving forward with all of our players who are in the NFL draft here coming up in April, who just had their pro day, all 32 teams showing up, showing out. And it was really good to have everybody here. So it's fun to watch as a coach, watch a player come in and say they want to do something on the field and off the field, and then especially on the field, go accomplish those dreams. It comes full circle. So just want to extend congratulations to all of them as well. I'm sure you have a lot of questions and a lot of different topics, so we'll just stop there as the opening comments and get to the questions.
PJ, could you take us through the UCLA interest and what decided you to stay here, and what does the amended contract do for you in the program?
Well, I just love being at Minnesota. I don't know if there's much to say after that. I just love being here. I've told you that before. We built a life here, not just make a living being a football coach. We're embedded in the community. We love this place. We love the city. We love the university. It's been really good to us. I think cultural sustainability is really important for success, especially in 2024 and the way college football is changing. I think it's really important for the development of programs and success of programs. And, just love being at Minnesota.
PJ, speaking of UCLA, the Gophers go back to the Rose Bowl first time in 62 years, and I know a lot.
I told you we'd go to the Rose Bowl, guys.
I know a lot of fans are.
Thought I was lying.
Yeah, a lot of fans are interested in that game. They're already making plans, commitments to go to the game. Can you talk a little bit about what that game might mean to you and some of your thoughts about the excitement of it?
I'm just excited about the new Big Ten and the 4 teams we've added. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement around where we're heading, where we're going. I think that's for the fans to be really excited about. I really believe that. Our focus will be, as we get closer, be on North Carolina. I mean, it really will. I mean, we're going to take it one game at a time. Everybody else can talk about that, be excited for that, get their tickets for that. We'll be there. We're excited about having that opportunity. But I'm being truthful about this. We're focused on being better today. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of things to be able to get better at from last year. This is a whole new year, a whole new team. We got to keep getting better. Obviously, it's really exciting. There's going to be a lot of people who maybe the last trip over to the Rose Bowl into that stadium was when the Gophers played in it, which was a long time ago. But I think that'll come full circle for a lot of families. I think there's so much tradition here, and there's so many traditional families who have been Gophers and legacy players and legacy people and legacy student athletes and just students that have come through here that I think that'll be really big for us. But we've got a lot of other things to get better at and develop before we start thinking about that game. But the expansion of the Big Ten, I think you can see that, the excitement of it. I'm just excited to see what the new Big Ten commercial looks like. My favorite commercial on the Big Ten Network is where all the, the spoon and the cherry pop up, and, for us, and everybody has, our ice skating rink, and it's going to be interesting when that commercial gets dropped and what it looks like from west to east. That's probably my wife Heather and I said that the other day, that we're excited to see what that commercial looks like. So,
what was it about Corey Hetherman that made you believe he's the best person to lead this defense?
Yeah, I think you just start with the type of person he is, a man of character. Him and his wife Julie, starting their own family here in the next month, somewhere around there. We're excited for them. But it's the consistency of the system, the familiarity with the system. He's really intelligent. You talk to so many people around the profession. They talk about how smart he is, how engaged he is, and he's a football guy. Players love to play for him. It all kept coming back to intelligent, smart, and familiarity with what we do and how we do it. And I think, every coordinator is going to come in here and make it their own. So there's going to be pieces of it that are different. But we do believe in what we believe in here defensively. And Cory's going to be an extension of that. He's going to make it his own. I'm really excited about our defensive staff, where we are with that, the development they've shown, and the connection they've shown as a defensive staff. Really the transition was very smooth, and that's a credit to all those guys on defense, including Cory, because Cory didn't bring anybody else with him. It was Cory. And sometimes I think a coordinator's a little hesitant to do that, but the transition's been so good, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that, and we're excited about that. He's been a coordinator in multiple stops before, had a ton of success, and we look forward to him doing that here as well at Minnesota.
What are some of the core philosophies that you and Bob Ligashevsky have for the special teams units?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time we've actually had to change special teams in my 12 years, really, of being a head football coach. Bob has a track record of having success everywhere he's been, NFL, college, has a ton of experience, has done a lot of things a lot of different ways. And I think that's what I was looking for in the hire with Bob. Bob and I worked together with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His energy is incredible. It's infectious. I mean, I'm not going to tell you his age, but he's older than me, runs every single morning. You know, we all have our own unique family lives, and we make things work, and he has one. I don't think there's a better man in the coaching profession than him. We used to go to dinner every Saturday night together in the NFL stops and just talk. That's how we got to know each other, and really just stayed in contact over the years. Ton of respect for what he does and how he does it. But again, he's open to a lot of different things, but also we get to be able to create things maybe we haven't created here. And emphasize things we haven't emphasized because of that change and his open-mindedness and his experience that he brings to the Gopher family here.
What has Max Brosberg shown you since he's been on campus?
Well, first of all, I think you start with the intangibles. I mean, they're through the roof. If you look at the quarterbacks we've had a lot of success with, whether Western Michigan or Minnesota, the intangibles go through the roof. And that's the first thing that you see when you meet him. I think any successful quarterback has to have that piece. It can't be all of it because you got to have some skill and some talent and all that other stuff. But the intangible, you feel like he's already been here for 30 years. I've never seen a person walk into a situation, maybe probably more uncomfortable of a situation because you're the new guy, and connect as many people as quickly as he has. You're talking about a guy who, you know, most people spring break, you hear Panama City, you hear, you know, Miami, you hear all these things. Nope, he took a bunch of players back with him and they worked out during spring break. You know, that's leadership. He's on a mission. He knows what he wants. Him even coming here, getting all of his goals and objectives of what he wanted out of looking for a program. I think this place fit, not just Minnesota, our coaching staff and our culture, but the situation he was walking into. We talked about how we needed a quarterback to walk in here and connect the entire football team. And that was going to be a tall task for anybody. But you can tell in 2.5 short months, this team is completely connected to him, has leaned on him, and has looked to him for guidance. And that's a credit to our players, but also credit to him that he's been able to do that in such a short amount of time. And it's real, it's authentic. He's a special young man. And we look forward to him actually throwing some footballs here coming up. Because I haven't had a chance to really see that except for Pro Day. I got to see that. But other than that, you know, we're really excited to get into some football with them. And it's like having another coach on the field. Because this isn't like having a freshman come in here that's really talented. He has all the experience that you want. That doesn't promise you anything, but it gives you a better chance. And his work ethic is through the roof. Has taken this team probably farther, quicker than maybe expected.
With the transfer portal, there's always uncertainty of what the roster could look like, but given what you guys were able to do in retaining starters from last season, what does that show about kind of where you guys want to go and what you were able to do in keeping pretty much everybody besides Ethan around?
Well, I think everybody has their own philosophy and how you're building programs right now. Some things that are in your control, some things that are out of your control, right? I said at the beginning, you have to adapt. If you don't adapt, I mean, you're going to die on the vine. I'm not saying we've made wholesale changes of what we believe, because we haven't. We've adapted. We don't change our core philosophy and what we believe in, how we build and connect teams. But when you look back at it, I think it's 15 of the 16 starters are back, and we lost one starter. But other than that, 15 of them decided to stay. I'm sure they could all make more money. I don't think that's a secret. But I am really, really thankful and proud of Dinkytown athletes, our fans, our administration, of really investing into our players. Is there always going to be a bigger house? Yes. Is there always going to make more money? Yes. Always going to be a faster car? Yes. Is there always going to be that? Absolutely. But I think with what we do and how we do it, it fits our culture and what we do within our program of connecting a football team. Every single scholarship athlete, I can say that, makes NIL money. And I'm a firm believer in connecting the entire football team. Now, like anything, as you continue to go through, people have abilities to make more, I'm sure. So, but it's one of those things that we take a lot of pride in connecting our team. I'm proud of the people who put the work forward every single day to go out and raise money for our student athletes. And I give our student athletes a lot of credit. There's a lot of choices out there. There's a lot of things to value. And I think the people here, I'm not saying we're perfect, and I'm not saying it's the only way to do something, but I do think the majority of the people here, not that money's not important, it's a tool, but that's not the number one thing they value. It's a tool for them to be able to continue to do more of what they do. And a lot of our guys give their money away. They connect people with it, which is what you want out of a football team. So I think it says a lot about the cultural sustainability, the familiarity with it, the administration, Dinkytown athletes, our players, their commitment to each other, and their maturity. And it goes back to Norris Wilson, too, in our Gopher for Life program. The education of our finance classes, our money classes that we're taking with our players to help them be able to do really smart things with their money.
You talk about adapting kind of from year to year. How much do you have to do that when you have assistants leave and have work in new coordinators? Do you find yourself managing a lot of that in an off season when you got some new, new staff?
Well, I think change is always needed. I think, we've said that multiple times. I think every year brings new excitement because there is change, whether it's players, whether it's coaching staff, systems. There's just new ways of doing it. And every year you're learning from your experiences. I mean, this is our 12th year being, head coach. So for us, we've learned a ton. And last year taught us a ton. And so how are we going to apply that to this year? How are we going to be able to accelerate and make the things we did really well better? And how are we going to do the things we didn't necessarily do well better? And we have a really hungry group as a staff and as players, where maybe people aren't going to put us, where that maybe we feel like we could be, but we don't listen to that outside piece. We just keep the internal voice really loud. And the systematic piece, which is having the new staff here. I mean, that's the exciting piece. There are going to be things that are different. And as a coach, you start to realize as you go, we're going to have to do this to have success, whether it's a new league, whether it's with this football team. That's the whole adaptation process. And you better be open-minded and willing to do that. And that's what the excitement is with the new coaches.
PJ, I'm wondering, in the spring or even the pre-fall and fall camp, would there be any situations that you see with Darius or Max where they would be in scrimmage situations or any hits that way, carrying the ball?
Are you saying you want Max to get hit?
No, I'm saying probably don't want, but I want to know what
Max's
you're
like, who's that guy?
thinking about.
No, I get your question. I'm just kidding. We're going to be smart with our players. I think that there's guys who have played a ton of football for us, but we're going to play football. But do I think we're going to sit back there and go live on the quarterback? No, I don't believe he played enough football where I can watch the film of what he looks like after he gets tackled at New Hampshire. I can find that out. But we're going to do what we normally do. We never really go live on the quarterback. The only time we've done that is when I haven't known what the quarterbacks can do. And then we've done that a little bit. In terms of Darius, I think we have a pretty deep running back room, which we spent a lot of time in the offseason developing, whether it's by young players or transfers, or guys that we're continuing to develop on a daily basis. But we're going to play football. That's the thing. We're going to play football. I mean, there's the NCAA limits how much you can do and how many times you can hit. I think we're always under those numbers. You get 15 practices. We're usually not even at 15 practices by the time we get done with spring anyway. We're going to do what this team needs for us to be able to have success in the fall. Because right now you're setting up your position to win the job in fall camp. There are no jobs that are won in the spring. There aren't. And I tell our team that all the time. But you set yourself up now to put yourself in position to be able to win a job in training camp. It's like if any of you are a fan of IndyCar or NASCAR, it's like qualifying. I mean, you have to qualify to put yourself in a pole position or where you're going to start. It's the same thing. This is that type of analogy in spring of this is the qualifying event of 15 or less practices to put yourself in the best position to start in the fall.
What went into the decision to not have a public spring game this year?
Yeah, great question. A lot of things. Take your pick. First of all, over the last few years, you can tell since I don't think we've had a normal spring game where we announced it and here we go. It's going to happen at this time and date since 2017. I think that was the last time. So we're talking 7 years ago. Was on schedule, on point, exactly what we said we wanted. And there's a lot of factors, whether that was COVID or whether that was, snow or something like that, that moved the game. So that was one factor. Two, I want to keep things inside the best I possibly can keep things inside. With the way college football is changing, we're going to have plenty of scrimmages and what we do and what we're allowed to do inside our walls. And then being able to have our fans be able to understand the changing of college football, the changing of college athletics. I think we have a Dinkytown athlete practice that will be open to Dinkytown members, which I want our fans and urge our fans to be a part of Dinkytown athletes, which is going to give you a chance to be part of more things that we do. As college football changes, we have to continue to adapt as a university as well to fit that change. And just like some of you have exclusive members and you have different things you can only look at when it's this or that, it's the same thing. We want to be able to urge and create more people being a part of Dinkytown athletes the best we possibly can. And then also open practice for our fans as well. So there was a lot of different factors that went into it. But again, it was the benefit. It was strictly to benefit our football program. Period. This wasn't some type of selfish decision on some other end. This is to looking at all the things we've gone through the last 7 years. What's best for this football team with the ever-changing landscape of college football. And I just felt like taking that game away for right now is probably not the best thing for their football team.
What position group are you most excited to see this spring?
I would probably say all of them. It's exciting because it's a new year. You get to watch, even though players have played in a certain position, let's say people have started before, you get to watch how they've grown, how they developed, the leadership role they take over. Did they close the gap? Because when the older you get, it becomes the inches. I mean, truly the inches. The younger players, they're making strides by yards every single day, just huge leaps and bounds. So you get to see the difference of those things and see how guys are getting better, where the areas of improvement are. It's a pretty boring answer, but that's what's exciting about it. It truly is. We've turned over that entire quarterback room. But I think every position has its, things we need to get better at and has its own built-in excitement at each position.
Do you have any thoughts on the recruiting calendar changes with signing day moving up? And how do you think it impacts your program?
Well, I was definitely for it and open to it. I think when you looked at the schedule of where we were in the recruiting schedule, it just didn't make a lot of sense of where the things were, where every issue is changing in college football. I think it makes more sense now, which is good. But we're all in favor of it, for it. We'll adapt accordingly.
As a coach, how do you refine and tailor your player development strategy, especially since college players at different stages of development now with transfers coming in and then also still the 4-year guys that you want to develop?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because I think you have guys like Max, right? Max is truly going to be here probably a total of, 12 total months. Maybe 11 and a half, the way you look at it, and then that's it. And that's you get a small window to do as much as you can, again, to close the gap in inches, where then you have people on your team that are yards and miles away from where they're actually going to be, and you all have one season to kind of do it. I said it was truly changing in a one-game championship season where you're putting all that to do that, but you're also still building a culture and a team for sustainable success in the future. So you have to balance those things. But we talk to our players all the time. That won't change. There's an attention to detail at everything we do, right? Within the fundamentals of the game. You plug that into a scheme, and then you have to be able to do that under the pressure of the situation. That's how we develop on a daily basis. It's not just doing the fundamentals. It's taking attention to the detail within the fundamental better than you did it yesterday. And then January and February, we don't really have a ton of scheme. Finally, we get to plug it into the scheme now, which means all the attention doesn't go to the scheme. It's still the attention to detail within the fundamental plugged into the scheme. And then you can do that all you want. That's fine. But you're still going to have to do it in front of 100,000 people at some point. You're still going to do it on the road. You're still have to do it at home. You're going to have to do it in the situation, the pressure of that situation. You've got to keep developing them to do that. Whether that's football, whether that's academics, whether that's a real world in their job, whether that's their social life, whether that's their serving and giving life, that's what they're learning here. And that's what we want to continue to develop and build as we go forward, as we keep connecting this football team.
Take one or two more for Coach.
PJ, when you're in the transfer portal recruiting Max, quarterback, you're looking for someone who can connect a team. How do you do that in such a short amount of time? Figure out he's got that. You can watch film and see the arm talent, but how do you do the other part?
We talked to a lot of people. And it wasn't hard. You talked to one person, and they said the same thing the other person said. And one thing I give his coaches credit for, I think a lot of people get hurt when somebody wants to leave. Like, why would you leave? You're going to hurt our team. They were promoting what he wanted for the rest of his life. They were willing to get on the phone with our coaches and talk about how great of a kid he is. Is he a connector? What kind of connector is he? What should we expect? And there wasn't one person that said one thing bad about him or questionable about him. And you have to do that in a very short amount of time because remember, it's what's available, right? It's not like what it will be in 2 months and then you get to take your pick out of the 30 guys because they've all waited. They go on the board, they come off the board. We knew what we were looking for. Marcus Henderson does a great job inside our walls, our director of player personnel, a tremendous job of evaluation. Coach Harbaugh does a really good job of being proactive. And it just seemed to be a great fit. Just because it was going to be a great fit doesn't mean we were going to get him because a lot of people would think he's going to be a great fit. But then it came down to his family, his parents, what they've done to raise him, what they value. And a person of his caliber of what he was doing and what he wanted, it fit exactly what we were looking for. And I'm sure, whether you talk about any transfer, they can always make this, they could make that, but if they truly value what they say they value, and again, everybody values something different, nothing right or wrong about it. But if those values align, you can get yourself into some really good situations. And he's very mature. You're going to see that talking to him. He knows what he wants on the field, off the field, but he's inquisitive enough to continue to learn and grow and curious constantly. Constantly. People, you could think of any adjective to describe him, but the curious piece, he's constantly curious about what he can do better. And then why are we doing that? He's a gym rat. And I think that fit exactly what we were looking for to help make our entire team that. Because if this team can be a connected team and it can compete with each other and learn true competition and be consistent with that, this team can be a really good football team. And I think that's what we're going to look for as we continue to build into the spring.
Is there a
We'll
slogan
finish
or,
with Andy, go ahead.
is there a slogan or catchphrase this spring on what you feel like is important for this team to have, the Poise Poison kind of thing?
Yeah, I think you'll be around. You'll see certain things. I'm sure you'll ask me some questions. But I just kind of hit it. We've talked competition since day one with this football team. We've talked about being a really smart football team in situational football, situational life, what life brings to us. That smart word is going to be really important as we continue to build our offense, defense, and special teams. And then the connection of this football team. You'll see some things. I'm sure you'll ask some. There's definitely, to answer your question, yes, but I'm sure that's for another day. We'll spend those days talking about those things. So, you got it, Brother Boat Sky Go Gophers. Thanks for being here, guys. I'm not worried about my mind. I said my mind's on them, isn't it?
Oh, cool. Some people change seats. A little different views here. Ryan, you move back to second row.
You want to take questions for Coach?
Passing game last year, I think, ranked 126 in college football, and it's been bottom 15 for the last 3 years. If you guys are finally going to take a step up in the passing game, What has to happen over the course of the next 9 months?
Starts with my position, number one, the quarterback. We have to be consistent at that position every single play, and I think that's where it all starts. It all starts with, being able to call the certain plays that we want to be able to run. It starts with that position, and then it goes to the other 10 guys, being able to protect, being able to run the ball effectively, being able to make the routine plays in the passing game at the receiver position and the tight end. And we're taking a vested interest in attacking people and throwing the football. Like that's always part of the plan. Like we want to be balanced. We wanted to be balanced last year, and we did our best at certain times during the course of the year. But if we're going to be able to do that, it starts tomorrow with being consistent, throwing and catching. That's the number one thing. And then just executing under the pressure of the situation.
What was it about Max that made you want to pursue him so hard, and what do you think expectations should be for him over the course of the next 9 months?
So it was a little bit of a unique relationship because it's different. It was my first real experience with recruiting a high-profile portal guy, and I've recruited transfers before, and you kind of go through it, and they're adults. They know what they want, but when you're recruiting a quarterback that, number one, he could change the landscape of how you are offensively, it's a pretty big deal. And the first conversation was very different than me talking to Drake Lindsay. It was me listening to what he wanted, and then thinking about how I can put that into place to fit, what his needs are within what we want to do. And I think to answer that, and the biggest thing to just kind of see from the first time I'm in front of you guys, like I think what you'll see is that is different than other relationships that I have with players. Max and I look at it as a partnership. It's one of those things where we're working together constantly to put the best product out there. And that's one thing, and it's resonated with me. One of the things I love about our guys is they're always watching football. And Max, we're watching playoffs, and, he sent me this graphic. It was during one of the Lions playoff games. And I saved it, and it was a quote from Jared Goff. And Jared Goff said, the best thing was, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was coaches not necessarily just telling players what to do, but working together and coming up with the best things possible. And that's what I think, he's done that. He's challenged me. He's changed me. I think that's, the coolest thing about our relationship that I hope you'll see on the field. The expectations for him, is we're talking about offensively. We have a theme this year, and I kind of used it a little bit last year, but it's 1-0. And that means attacking each decision you make emotionally, mentally, and physically, and then changing your best with it. And I think I want him to, every single play, be 1-0 on that particular play. Every single meeting be 1-0. Every single thing he's doing with his class schedule be 1-0. And that's the same thing with our whole offense. And, it's about being 1-0 in tomorrow's practice. And, I think coaches get caught up in that end product. How are we going to look in December? How are we going to look in August? Well, I want to look better on Saturday than we do tomorrow. And I think that's what I'm continuing to preach to our guys, continuing to preach to Max, which then is infiltrating through our team.
What have you seen from him already physically and mentally that maybe has surprised you?
The hardest worker I've been around is no question. I've never – the best thing about a coach is when a guy can challenge you, and he makes you better every single day. And I think that is the number one thing that he does. Me and him are together all the time. It's just we're working together. And he challenges me to make sure that every meeting that I have with them, I'm ready to roll. He's going to ask me questions that maybe I haven't already thought of, that have challenged me. And I think that's the best thing. The last guy that I've really had like that, that I coached directly was Sky Moore. And that's how it was. Like, I would go into a meeting with him, and he might ask me something, well, that's a really good idea. And I think that's what he's done. And then inside the room, Coach Kaler always says this to me because he's coached quarterbacks, he coordinated, and he's always said, like, when you get a guy like that, it changes the entire room. You should see Drake Lindsay, you should see Max Chickenjansky. And Max Chickenjansky is the only one I can really look at because he was in the room last year. But the way he acts now and the confidence he has is totally different. And it all starts with the guy at the top. And I think that, again, you just have to come out when you come out and see practice, you'll see it.
What did you learn about yourself as a coordinator last year?
A lot. It was for obvious reasons, it was a difficult year. And so I think when you go through challenges like we went through last year, I think you learn a lot about yourself. And I think just the situational football piece, Coach Fleck and I have had a ton of talks about, just when to call certain things, when not to call certain things. I think that's been one of the biggest things that I've learned. Coach Fleck has gone through situational things with me. He's gone through situational things with Max. Like, it's building that piece of it because every single play is a situation in that game. And it goes back to the original question of how do we become better at throwing the football? Well, all right, we have to be able to stay on schedule. 1st and 10, if I'm going to throw the ball in 1st and 10, I can't always be in 2nd and 10. I can't always be in 2nd and long. And being able to be if I'm in 2nd and 2, being able to call a shot down the field, knowing that I'm not going to end up in 3rd and 8. I'm going to be able to use a check down at quarterback. It all starts with my guy. And I think that's what I learned a ton was just every single play plays a huge factor in that particular game. And just learning through that, and I think last year was a big learning moment for me throughout 13 games. And then the last thing I think I'll say is like piecing it together when things aren't always right from a personnel standpoint. Just like things happen throughout the course of a year. Guys get hurt, guys get injured. Being able to work through those situations, I think are things that I learned about myself as well. Obviously it was well documented last year with Darius being gone. We had to figure out a way to be able to move the football with our running back situation. At times we did, at times we didn't. And that's one thing that I learned, just putting all the pieces together no matter what cards are dealt to us.
You have a transfer quarterback coming in and learning a new offense. How do you go about building up to mastery of the system over time and not putting too much on a player's plate?
Well, I don't want to get too much into that, but that started in the recruiting process. Max committed, I think it was a week and a half after we played Wisconsin. And I went out when I recruited him. When I went out there, like we talked a lot. We talked a lot on the phone. We talked a lot on just different things. And like I said, it goes back to, he wanted more. He always wanted it. It was funny because they had, something. It was funny. Darius Taylor came up to me. It was like I think it was a player run practice. And, we aren't allowed to watch those. And so, like, you're just kind of you're putting the quarterback in charge. And I think it was the first or second one. And Darius came up to me and he goes, man, this guy knows more of the offense than I do. And he just was impressed. And it wasn't like a discredit to Darius. It was more him complimenting Max that how does he know all this already? And it's just you give him a little bit of information here and there and do that. And I think like that's the thing. Max ran with it. He works more on his own than anybody I've been around, and then he'll come to me with questions. And I think that's been a credit to him because he wanted to be able to step in from day one and be able to take command of the offense, but then also be able to lead the team. How can you lead the team if you know nothing about the offense? He had to be able to do that first before he could lead anybody. And the thing I'll add to it is, and this is one of the things I've mentioned that he's said to me that I pick up on is he's not trying to necessarily lead the guys. He wants to lead with people. He wants to lead with Quinn Carroll. He wants to lead with Daniel Jackson. He wants to lead with Elijah Spencer, Darius Taylor, Ariante Ursery. Like those guys, like he wants to lead with those guys and not just say, hey, follow me. And I think that's been a huge thing because it puts ownership on the rest of the guys as well.
The last three of your top 5 pass catchers from last season, who are some of the guys outside of Daniel Jackson you're hoping to see steps forward from?
I think it's gonna be cool to see who steps up throughout the course of the spring, but I look forward to seeing Elijah Spencer having a nice spring, Lemeke Brockington, some of the young receivers as well. I think I look forward to seeing them practice and get better every single day. I've really liked what I've seen when we've been out there for winter conditioning with C.A. Bangura. I think that's been, really, really good to see him move around. I'm excited about him. And then the tight end room I'm really excited about too, because I don't know who's going to step up in that room. And I think it's going to be very, very cool to see, the development of Jameson Gears. Nick Callerup's obviously back. Pierce Walsh, Nathan Jones, like those guys, it's going to be cool to see how they develop in the run game, develop in the pass game. But I'm just looking forward to see who makes plays, who wants that. We kind of know what Daniel Jackson can do. We kind of know what Darius Taylor can do. Who are going to be those next guys? And I think that's going to be the cool thing to see, and Max gaining confidence in them to be able to make plays for him.
The tight end room, you got Revan, obviously, the whole time you've been here. He's been here as well. So
Right.
just, you got emotional a little bit talking about him in the last game and just what he meant to you. What was it like seeing him back in the building for that pro day and kind of living out his dream?
It was cool. I talk to Brev all the time still. He's really excited for the end of April, for where he ends up. But it was cool to see. That's the ultimate goal that you want, is you want to see guys, and I wasn't with him his whole career, but I like to be able to see guys. I remember when he came in as a mid-year, when I think it was 2018, and I think he came in and he was just a skinny little guy. He was still tall, but then I remember those days, and then he or 2019, excuse me, and so like he ended up starting to like become a man, and you see that. I think it's very cool to see him live out that, and I'm excited to see where he goes. It's gonna be fun to continue to track him, as well as the other guys working to achieve their dream.
A lot of consistency at center, John Michael and Nathan. Where do things look this spring at that spot?
There's a few guys. That we've been working at that position. That's a critical position. Coach Callahan does an awesome job with developing those guys. We're looking to find the next John Michael. And so that he was whatever pick he was. He was a starter day one of the New York Giants, and so like we're looking to find that guy and continue to develop him. But there might not be another John Michael, but we're looking to put the best guy possible in that position. But you'll be able to see when you come out to practice.
Greg, do you see any possibility of thinking about a pitch count on Darius and his number of carries?
We're going to do what it takes to win the game. But Darius is going to be very valuable to our offense and the development of our offense. It's going to come down to the guys we brought in our freshman class, and then obviously with the two guys in the transfer portal. And I think the development of those guys is going to be huge. And then obviously JoJo's still there. And so we're going to continue to build that room. And if it's Darius Taylor show, it's a Darius Taylor show. If it's by committee, it's by committee. We're going to do whatever it takes.
When you're recruiting Max in the portal, how long into that week and a half was it clear that he was a guy that you really wanted and it would be a good fit? And what are some of the other sort of unique questions you're asking about that?
Well, from a talent perspective, it took me about maybe 20 plays to watch to see him, and then I've watched all his New Hampshire tape. I watched it for two reasons. Obviously, to see how he is as a player, evaluation, and then also to see what concepts did he really like that he was really good at, and you work to implement that type of stuff. Everybody runs the same things, but there might be just separate nuances that he might think that are really good, and he understood. So I adjust my coaching. From a personality standpoint, you look at everything. You talk Coach said you talk to a lot of different people. You talk to his coaches there. You talk to his family. You talk to his trainers. Like it's all those types of people. And I go back to his official visit, and the players all said to him they wanted somebody that can lead them. And since that comment from one of our guys, it's resonated in his mind. And then I knew he was the right guy, and it showed. You didn't really know until he got here in January. We saw him at bowl prep, but he was really observing, and he got around the guys. But you could see he connected with the guys even there in that short period of time. But it was that leadership ability that he's able to just put himself into a position, and he didn't do it right away. It was one of those things where he let things kind of happen. It was about 2-3 weeks in, and then certain situations came up, positive or negative, where he had to handle it, and the way he handled it has been awesome. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to get out there and practice. I'm excited to let him develop with the guys and put the offense together the way that he wants it. Because ultimately, I can know everything there is to know about a particular play, scheme, what he has to do. But if that guy doesn't understand it, it's not going to work. And, I'm excited. I'm just really excited to get out there and work with him more.
Take one or two more for Coach.
Self-scouting yourself just in general, like in the off-season, just reflection on stuff. And you mentioned the situational plays and stuff
Yep.
like that. Just what goes into those decisions to maybe this is a good play for 2nd and 2, or this is a good play for 3rd and long. Just and maybe this play is better for a different situation.
I think one thing that, talking to particular people, about going from year 1 to year 2, number one, I feel a lot more comfortable in the position I'm in. Number one, and I looked at our install schedule. So, for example, I looked at our install schedule from last year at this time, saw what it was. Maybe we didn't run a ton of it. Then I look at training camp. All right. Then I look at the cutups and see what did we run, what did we do effectively, that type of thing. And then I look at how we're going to install in the spring. And I think the one thing I looked at is the guys coming back. What do they do the best? How do they execute under those plays? Because the situational football will be a lot better if they understand how to be able to execute the play. And our offense is our offense. It's going from year 1 to year 2 with me, calling it. And I think the number one thing that I learned was just putting the guys in positions with what they want to do. Number one, because if they want to do it, they're going to execute it better. And then secondly, the thing that I've said to the staff and I've said to our players is the number one thing I wanted to see from practice 1 to practice 2, so on and so forth, is continuing to play fast. When guys can play fast and they can execute and play fast, it's hard to defend you. And I'm excited to see how we do with that.
What do you foresee as the characteristics or challenges of Cory's defense?
Well, I'll let you know next time I talk to you. I'm excited. We've had conversations about what they do, and I think it'll have its own set of challenges. I really like his philosophy. I think he, from a coordinator perspective, and then obviously it all falls under coach, is, he said to me a number of times he wants his guys to play fast. And it's like we haven't had that conversation, but it's the same way that I think that I didn't necessarily think going into year 1, I'm like, hey, guys will play fast. And then you look at it and then you're like, all right, that's something that we have to do a better job of. And that's what he's always said to me too. You can have these elaborate plays and elaborate defensive schemes, but if the guys don't understand and they aren't playing fast, and they aren't getting to the quarterback or we aren't pitching and catching, then it really doesn't matter. And I think his philosophy like that is going to be cool to see. They're going to have little wrinkles here and there. That's going to obviously be different than what Joe did. But I think, at the end of the day, his philosophy is great. Get to the football and play fast. But I think I'll be able to tell you next time more. Hopefully it's tough to play against.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Coach Hetherman up here. Once Coach gets to the podium, we'll jump into questions.
Ryan Burns, 24/7 Sports here. What's it like to interview with PJ Fleck, and how much of a whirlwind was it there when you ultimately accepted the defensive coordinator position here?
Yeah, it was different. It was the first time I met him. First chance we got to, had time to talk and kind of go through it. But to me, it was football. It was, how are you going to handle certain players? How are you going to handle certain situations? How are you going to, what is your philosophy? What is your scheme? How do you attack certain situations? And, once it gets into that, I think it's very comfortable. And, overall, it was a great experience and excited to be here now.
Cory, what do you feel like your defenses will be the calling cards of it?
I think we'll be very multiple. And the toughest thing right now is who are we? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are the things that we're going to try to, make sure we're doing or we're trying to feature? And then what are the things that, maybe we don't want to lead off with or set out right away because of, you know, the player's strengths or, you know, how we go. So the next 2 months or the next, you know, however many practices we go through is going to be the biggest thing to answer that. You know, so far it's been awesome, you know, meeting the kids and seeing their personalities and seeing how they watch film and how they attack the weight room and do all of that. But now it'll be a really good test to see, you know, how we play football. And, you know, who are the guys that are going to finish plays, who can play in space, who can rush the quarterback, who can cover. And that'll answer a lot of questions in the next couple, you know, next 5 weeks here.
Coaching background was pretty unique. What did you take away from your experience coaching internationally at the beginning of your career?
Yeah, I think everything has been a learning experience. You know, I kind of got into it on one side of the ball. Now I'm on the other side of the football. Having chances to see things as a player, what you like, what you don't like. You play under different people. And then you try to take that into coaching. And then, you know, in every different coaching experience, it's how can I get better from that? What did I learn in this situation? And, you know, I think that's been something that's been huge for me, you know, whether it's been at the Division III level, at this in the Big Ten level, you know, you kind of take apart from each situation and you kind of make it a whole as you continue to grow. And, you know, Coach already talked about the change and, you know, we're going to change today and get better tomorrow. And I think that's something that we're always looking at doing. And I think that's been a big part of my career is, you know, learning from every situation I've been a part of.
There are several coaching ties between Rutgers and Minnesota. What did you learn about Minnesota from a guy like Joe Semiak?
Yeah, I think it goes all the way back to Maine for me. You know, those guys all started up at Maine, and you know, I got to know Joe Harrisimiak as a player. You know, we've been close for a long time. I was a GA his senior year, and you know, just kind of staying in touch with him, and then having a chance to work with him and work for him has been awesome. And you know, getting to know the culture at Minnesota, the culture at Rutgers, and getting to see different, you know, every different environment, every different situation, and how it changed at Maine all the way through. You know, has been really good, and it's helped, you know, kind of the process of coming here and learning, you know, the culture here. So that's been a big part of it so far.
Cory, how have you kind of met the transition and the challenge, maybe a little bit of coming in and succeeding a highly successful guy like Coach Rossi?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's always tough to replace someone that's done a very good job. You know, Coach Rossi, his defense is here. You know, obviously my last, I don't even know how many years now, I've got a chance to study him, watch what they do in the field, see how they attack people, see how they coach. And, you know, they've done a very good job on defense. And, you know, everything, learning the way that they did it here was my number one goal when I first got here. Okay, how has this been coached? How has it been done? And how have we been, you know, it's been very successful. What can we carry over? So that's been a big thing. And now it's going to be, you know, how do we try to take that and make it better? And, you know, I always look at, like, when I went down to JMU, that was a situation where, you know, they were playing for national titles. And it was how do we get this and how do we continue to get better and continue to improve that defense or where we were with that team. And, you know, I think it's a very similar situation.
On board and not bringing along any other assistant coaches or anything like that, how's it been connecting with the staff that was here prior?
The staff's been great. You know, I love the guys that we have on the defensive side of the ball. Really, the entire staff, everyone involved. And, you know, moving, you know, halfway across the country, they've been awesome, you know, helping me out all along the way. And then, you know, as far as how we talk about, you know, what we're going to install, how we're going to implement things, you know, the different changes we will make, the guys have been awesome, you know, as far as we like this, we don't like this, we're all in, hey, can we talk about this? Everything from, you know, trying to figure out what neighborhood I'm going to live in into, you know, how are we going to get a stop on third down here? The guys have been excellent, and I'm excited, you know, to continue working with them and get going here on the field in spring ball.
Run defense here last fall was the worst in the Big Ten. So what are some of the keys to improving a run defense, and what do you want your defense to kind of be known for?
Yeah, I think we have to make teams one-dimensional. You know, we have to force them to throw the ball. We have to stop the run. That's always going to be the number one goal. You know, it's right away, you know, first down situations. You know, how do we get the offense off track? How do we make it so they have to throw the football now? They're not in charge of dictating to us, you know, what the play type's going to be. And, you know, that's always been a big thing, you know, in this defense and in this scheme we've kind of hung our hat on is, okay, how do we take that away? How do we attack them? Or who do we have to take out of the scheme in order to get them off track? So now we can get into third down situations or, you know, second and off track situations.
There's so much information that players have to master and learn with the defensive scheme. How do you go about making sure that they're getting clear, concise information that can ultimately help them play fast?
I think, everything Coach spoke about earlier is the fundamentals and the techniques. We're going to coach them up, on, the movement, the block destruction, the tackling, the coverage ability. We're going to coach all those fundamentals. And then the techniques we're going to give them, we don't want an entire Rolodex of techniques. It's, okay, this is how we're going to play this is how we're going to play that. And now if you can put those techniques into different calls, the guys aren't doing a lot of things. And that's where I feel like the guys can now play fast. Now they're not thinking as much. Now it's something that it's a similar to or it's a same as, where now they can go out and react or they can get their key progression. And I think that's what allows the guys, whether it's 4 calls or 10 calls, they can go out and play those calls because they're doing similar things over and over and over again. And that way they're getting, whether it's a walkthrough or it's, a group event or it's a team, now they're out there getting the same picture, the same keys, and they're getting faster and faster with their reads every single time.
You haven't seen much of them on the field yet, but how do you evaluate your linebacker position right now?
I'm excited about it. I think we'll get, overall as a group, I think we have guys with experience. I think they'll continue to get better. I think they had a really good winter. Going through the cut-ups and watching what they did last year, we had a lot of crossover, from where I was to watching them every week, how they fit things or how they covered things. And, I really like the group that we have, and I think we're going to continue to build, continue to grow. We'll be a year older, a year more mature now, and I think that's really going to help us on the field. But I'm excited about the group.
Right in the secondary, there's quite a bit of turnover. Obviously, Newman is an All-American, and Trayvon Jones, who is an every-game starter. What about the turnover that you see?
I think that's, we're always going to have that, and obviously excited for those guys and, watching Pro Day and watching how he competed and how he attacked it. I'm real excited for what's going to happen to him, the next couple of weeks. But, we have to develop guys. We have to grow our talent there. I think we have guys that are very capable. I'm excited about that group. I think we have a lot of versatility in how we can attack people using that room. And, this spring will be big to throw them into those situations and really find out, what their strengths are in that room. And then how do we, take our scheme and put those guys in the best situations to be successful. But I do think overall, when you look at that group from top to bottom, I do think we're going to have a very good group there.
If I could take you back to 2007 in Springfield, now obviously almost 20 years later, you're a Big Ten defensive coordinator. What do you remember about those first few weeks back there at Springfield?
I can say my first year at Springfield, I was the worst defensive coach there was. I mean, going to that side of the ball, trying to figure out how to tackle, how to defeat a block, how do I move to get to the ball, what happens when all of a sudden there's a shift or a motion. It was like, those are things I didn't have to think about maybe on offense. And that's something that, learning and growing and trying to get ahead of it and always trying to stay, one shift ahead or one motion ahead or one play ahead. I think everything that, I was a part of there with that staff and the people who helped me out and even the players, I still talk to a lot of those guys now. How much maybe I've grown it's been really good, but to me, that's what it's all about. You love football. You want to continue to get better at football every single day. And that was the whole reason why I got into it. I love, the way that my coaches helped me get better, whether it be Pop Warner all the way through high school, through college. And it's the same thing. That's my goal, is to make sure, take our guys and continue to develop them, continue to get them better. And, we might see something even, tomorrow in first practice. We might see something that, hey, we got to find a better answer for that. Or we got to have a better, way to take that on. And that's part of this game, is we're going to continue to do that all the time. And I think, going all the way back to 2007, it's always funny looking back at those situations and seeing, the philosophy at that point to how it's grown or how it's changed. And, there's things I'll still go back and, hey, how did we handle this situation? Or what did we do there? Is that best for what we have, in the locker room right now? And I think that's situations that we always look back, grow, and continue. That's why we, get to where we want to be.
What brought you to Europe?
So I was a senior in college, and, there was a coach that I'd kind of been recruited by coming out of high school that had been on a staff over there. And, they had a quarterback situation where they didn't, they weren't going to finish the season with the guy they had, and asked me if I'd basically go take an opportunity and, work out for a team and play. And I finished the year out there, and it was an awesome experience. The biggest thing I took from it was, get a chance to see the world, get a chance to meet different people, be a part of something a little different. My first couple meals, I didn't know what to do. My first time getting, in the cab, going back to where I was going to live, it was, Klagenfurt. I had no idea what they were saying to me in the car. I was trying to figure it out with my accent and then with a different language. It was a difficult situation, but, learning the culture, learning their customs, learning the food, how to get around, how to communicate, different people. It was an excellent experience. And then, I had an opportunity to go back my second year and play in a different country, and it was awesome. But, it really came down to someone that I built a relationship with through recruiting. And, I didn't go play at that school. I ended up going down, playing at a different level, and they had an opportunity. He had a relationship with the owner of the team, and next thing I knew, I was on a flight over to Europe.
Cory, how would you describe your demeanor, your personality that you bring to the kids in practice and in games?
Yeah, I think, it's definitely going to be, we're going to coach the guys up, and there's going to be times where there's going to be expectations, but we're going to take it step by step. We're going to continue to get them better every single step of the way. And I think my biggest thing is, I'm kind of like an educator. My background's in education. Before I went to Europe, I was a student teacher at Leominster High School in Massachusetts, going through the education program, and kind of going to take it that way where, how do guys learn, how do guys develop, and I got to find a way to reach each one of our players and everyone on the staff. How do we need to communicate it in the staff room so that everyone's on the same page? The game plan, how we're executing it, how we're going through practice, all the way to each player. How am I going to get the drill to them? How am I going to get the scheme to them, the technique, the philosophy, why we're doing it, how we're doing it? And, each guy's going to be a little bit different how we're going to do that. And that, the reaction for player A might be different than player B. And that's something that I'm still trying to learn who our guys are, who's in the room, getting a feel for everyone. And I feel like being here and seeing the weight room and seeing the winter workouts and meeting guys in the office and, getting to see them away from the football field has been huge and helpful with that, but something we're still going to develop here, in the next couple of weeks.
How do you use your emotions in your overall teaching and coaching?
Try to keep it calm as much as I can, but not all the time.
We have one or two more for Coach.
In the early stages, what are your thoughts on the culture that's here with Minnesota and the program?
I love the culture here right now. The guys, the way they attack each day, the way they enter the building, the excitement they have, the love they have for football. And that's the biggest thing to me is, the love they have for each other, the way they take care of each other, and then the way that they attack meetings, workouts, and everything, the way they do it off campus, the way they eat to fuel their body, the way that they come in prepared for a meeting, and then the way that they've attacked the workouts. I'm real excited to see how they're going to attack a practice now, because I think that's what's going to help make us very good, overall as a program. And I think that's something that's been tested here, and I think that's something that's going to continue to get better.
Obviously, knowing a little bit more, moving from a state to state in the United States than moving to Europe, but what have you learned about yourself and just learned about Minnesota in general since you've moved here?
It's been, it's been excellent so far. Everyone's been nice. We haven't given up a touchdown or a first down yet. So, but everyone's been nice. Getting around and people in the community, people in the building, people on campus, going out to eat and everything. It's been awesome here so far. My wife, has loved it so far, and we're excited about what it's going to become and where things are going to go. But like I said, we haven't given up a touchdown yet. So.
We'll go ahead and finish with Ryan Burrs. Go ahead, Ryan.
One of Rossi's philosophies was making sure that they stopped the run and didn't give up a lot of explosive plays. Are there any philosophies in your head that you think about at your time at James Madison or Maine that you want to bring here to Minnesota, or are they similar to what Rossi would say?
I think everything's going to be similar. There'll be changes, and we'll do things a little bit differently. But stop the run. We want to create explosives on defense. We want to take the football away. We want to create takeaways, change the field, and those are going to be things that we're going to emphasize right away from practice one.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Cory.
Not yet.
What's your beard care routine?
I'm not sure. Just try to take care of it until it gets out of control.
Just give us a couple seconds to move out the podium, move the table in. Gonna go grab the other two guys. Max, we'll be right back. I'm good. Just gonna grab the other one.
We're gonna do a long road trip out east. I got my two oldest are graduating. Totally. Graduating from Nebraska. Yes. And my middle is graduating.
No appointments necessary.
So.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't know. Last one. I'll talk to you after. So we generally go out.
You talking about the internal there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we go like. We'd rather go.
Your thoughts and
Oh,
feelings
yeah.
on it.
I'll see back to this one. Maybe we'll check out some New York.
Yeah.
Road trip out of it. Go to a bunch of baseball games.
Yeah.
Fields,
Middle of June. 2.5 weeks.
High school grad going on Nebraska too.
No, he's gonna stay. Ethan might change.
It sounds like,
Well, that's the
sounds like you swayed him. See that?
No, I didn't see that part.
He went on spring break.
hoping to run.
They'll have a track.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not.
This wild west with the.
No, there's like
six different.
Yeah.
They could go. Yeah, like,
Come on up, guys. That's great. Darius, want to go in the middle? Daniel there? Max over here? Absolutely.
Daniel Jackson, Darius Taylor, Max Rosemer.
Once Max takes a seat, we'll jump into questions and go about 15 minutes, we'll bring in the defensive passes. Fire away, guys.
Max, could you take us through your decision to come to Minnesota? What led to it and how the process was?
Yeah, I'll just say the transfer portal is it's a wild new world. I was kind of warned going into the portal about how kind of crazy it gets, and I don't think that I really understood the true depth of it until I got in. I was lucky enough that I had some schools reach out pretty early when I got in the portal. I didn't really know what to expect when I got in, and Minnesota was one of the first schools to do that. Once I saw that kind of, Minnesota come in, I was like, I might as well check it out. And I heard a lot about the program, a lot about Coach Fleck and the culture. And that's kind of the player that I am. I take value and culture in the team. And so when I got here, I fell in love with the process and the culture and the team. So I think I took off and ran with it. I can't thank the staff and the team much for taking me in that fast.
Was there another school that you were really close on as far as making your decision, and what was the biggest thing in coming here for you?
I think there's a handful of schools that you kind of have to sort through. That's how the portal is for a lot of people. Sometimes you kind of got to figure out who actually wants it and who doesn't. One of the things that I had taken a lot of weight to was you want to go to a school that wants you the same thing, the same way that you want to go to that program as well. And Coach Fleck mentioned earlier that we aligned pretty well, pretty quickly, and that had a lot of weight for me. I wanted to get in and out of the portal as quickly as I could. As long as I was going to the school that fit me the best. So Minnesota ended up being that school for me.
Darius.
You look at the lack of consistent passing game success the school's had the last few years. What was the vision that Harbaugh sold you on that you can help elevate this offense to one that is even league average?
Yeah, I think it's the challenge that excites me and Coach Harbaugh and the team. You could easily walk into a school that has the best passing attack in the country, and you have these high expectations placed upon you as you get there. And coming into a school where there's a new challenge that's set forth is super, super exciting. And the ability to for the coaches to open up their arms and open up their as Coach Harbaugh and I work together for our new ideas and stuff. I think it's really cool. It's what gravitated me towards here to Minnesota. And seeing what this team had to offer. I think this team is so skillful and talented. And I don't think that any quarterback could turn that down, especially in the portal. It's a wild world, and finding that school that fits you best is a hard thing to do.
Darius, everything was pretty fresh last year being a freshman, but having gone through it all, how did that help prepare you this offseason, and what are you looking forward to heading into the spring?
I feel like it gave me some insight on what I need to do in the offseason, what I need to do to prepare myself mentally and my body. Obviously, what I went through last season was unfortunate, but it's just I knew what I needed to go into the offseason thinking about and working on myself. I had to better myself, getting in the training room, stretching, making sure I'm lathered up in every warm up. Before I get out in practice, making sure I'm warming up in the training room before I do the warm up. So everything has been body focus for me, and then obviously mentally figuring everything out and all the things that we're working on, making sure that I'm on top of my things.
Darius, when you first stepped out on the field, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make as you moved up in speed level?
I'd say it's the mental part of it. Everybody does their job. The defense is where they're supposed to be at all times for the most part. So making guys miss in those tight spaces, there's really never really a wide open gap. Obviously there is here and there, but that was the biggest adjustment. Everybody's where they're supposed to be.
Danny, what's your kind of initial first impressions of Max?
Max, the one word I'll describe him as is general. He takes over the offense. He constructs the offense. He brings in his own little flair to it. It's something that we've never seen before. And if I had to sum it up in one word, I'd say general.
How does that happen so quickly? When he comes in?
I'd say the team embracing him and him also kind of sticking out. You can see from him from day one it's a big difference. And really just the trust and the commitment to like us teammates that he's already given us like since day one is kind of like what allows him to have that so easily.
Max, you were able to work with some of the alumni for their pro day, and then it was mentioned you brought some guys down to Atlanta or Georgia to work out. What have you seen from the workouts that you've had, and what has impressed you with some of the alums or the guys you'll be playing with next year?
Yeah, the pro day was really fun. We had a couple of days to work together and kind of get to know each other within like 48 hours. So that was pretty cool. I think the cool part about the new receiver room and the new tight end room is everyone is there. There's a crave and a desire to grow and to kind of progress. It's hard to find. It's kind of the intangibles that was talked about earlier by Coach Fleck. You can't teach that. And so when you have a receiver room and a tight end room and a running back room where everyone wants to grow and there's a desire there, it's an exciting thing to be a part of. There's not a forceful like, hey, we got to do this, we got to do this. It's like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Let's do it right away. And it's kind of cool bouncing ideas off of each other. That's the best part about playing football is being a part of the team. And when you get a good team that wants to grow and wants to play together, there's nothing better.
Yeah, Max, on that topic, you got to pick the brain a bit of Josh McCown after the pro day happened. Just what did you learn from him in that time?
Honestly, most of the conversation was about the new headset rule. I think that's pretty exciting for all of us. I had Josh McCown has been in the league or was in the league for I don't know how many years, and so it's kind of cool to talk to someone who's done it before, has lived my dream, and kind of pick his brain about honestly just having a conversation. It was more just like getting to know him. And then the last half of the conversation was like, hey, how do you deal with the headset thing? And figuring out like kind of the ins and outs of how it works, what worked and what didn't work. Some funny stories that we talked about just about maybe the headset going out, but really maybe it really didn't. But it's cool. So I think that'll be a cool thing for me and Coach Harbaugh this year. Getting to feel out how it actually works and do it in live situations, and being able to hear what he says and see how that plays out for our offense.
Daniel, you won't be sneaking up on anybody this year, coming off an all Big Ten season. How have you kind of embraced knowing that you're going to be the number one guy opposing defensive coordinators are going to be trying to stop through the year?
Just never taking a day for granted. Nothing's guaranteed. Knowing what got me here and continuing that process even at a higher level. Because, this is my last year, so, don't leave nothing on the bone. Take everything, by the heart, really. Just grinding consistently and understanding that people are going to be looking out for you, but that can't change the way you prepare.
Daniel, what's the next step forward you want to take with your game as you approach the offseason and improving here?
Could you ask that one more time? Sorry.
What's a specific area you want to take a step forward in as you begin the offseason here?
For this offseason, I'd say continually bringing the young guys about, like, our freshman receivers, our sophomore receivers, to kind of leaving my legacy on this receiver room. But skillfully wise, just fine-tuning everything, I'd say, with even catching the ball, how I catch the ball, catching traffic, even route running, polishing that up. I'd say, kind of like your last year, you want to be most polished as you can be. So that's kind of the intake I'm taking on it.
Daniel, can you just say a little bit more about what you were alluding to a few minutes ago about Max and quality or traits that you hadn't seen here before?
Yeah, of course. Even with like the way he commands the offense, literally, and the way even in the huddle, on the field when we're already lined up, he's able to make adjustments on the fly. He's able to see things that really no one else is on the field is able to see, and he's able to put us receivers and running backs in the best position to go out there and be successful. Just his knowledge I'd say of the game is very, very impeccable.
Darius, the running back room has had a lot of turnover. How has it been connecting with the new transfers in and the new freshmen coming in as well?
It's been great. Everybody's connected, really. We hang out all the time. We're always together. We play a lot of like Mortal Kombat and Tekken, which are like fighting video games. Talk a lot of crap to each other. Most of the time, we're just joking around with each other, just around each other. I feel like that's a big thing for our room because, as we know, we run the ball here in Minnesota, so it's not just one guy taking all the load. We need to be able to depend on the next guy third guy, fourth guy. So everybody needs to be prepared to be the starter, no matter who it is. Everybody needs to understand the situation at all times and all the things that we work on.
Max, how did the spring break trip to Georgia come about, and who joined you, and what did you guys do while you were down there?
Yeah, so I had previously done that at UNH with my guys, and I had been trying to do it for like 2 years prior, and COVID kept pushing it back, and flights getting canceled, so that was always an issue. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was going home to train anyway, and a couple of guys are from Georgia, and so we got to go back and train for a week, and we had a blast. I made a little, itinerary for the guys, and we had a kind of a mock retreat, and I plan on doing that again in May with a larger group. So it was awesome. I think, again, it goes back to the point where I say people are wanting to grow and they want to get better. You have to force some guys to want to do that stuff and take the time out of their spring break where they've been doing football for 2 months, and then they're going to get asked to train when they want an actual break, but they wanted to do that stuff. So we had a good time. It was hard work for 4 days of training and workouts. So we had a really good time.
Who were the guys that went?
The guys from Georgia were Kenrick and Lemecki Brockington, and then Elijah Spencer has some family in Georgia as well. So it ended up working out pretty well.
Max, what did you learn about yourself when you battled back from injury in 2021, going through the rehab process and then getting back on the field?
Yeah, I think I've gotten that question a lot about kind of rehab stuff, and I think it's very consistent throughout sport. People are constantly getting injured and trying to rehab, and I won't say that my story's different or the same as anyone else's. Mine was just an ACL and a meniscus, and it puts you in a pretty low spot. I think for most athletes, they would probably say the same thing. I had some help along the way. I can't say that I did it by myself. I had a lot of help from Seth Mikowski, I call him kind of my mindset mental coach kind of guy. He uses chess to teach mental efficiency, and we worked a lot together throughout the injury process. And I would just say the help along the way is really what dug me out of it. And then the love for my teammates as well at UNH. I wouldn't have been able to come back as fast as I did without them. So it's definitely it takes a village for sure.
Max, your numbers against the blitz were really good at UNH. Why do you think that is?
It's a good question. I would say number one, up front, I think at one point last year, we were like the lowest number of sacks in the CA at one point last year, which is cool. You have an O-line that's willing to block for you, which is pretty fun. I would say the preparation that my staff and me too, we put a lot of stuff in, a lot of preparation in for each week's opponent. I live and die by preparation. I know that my skill only goes so far. I don't run a 4.4. I can't escape every single blitz, but if I know what's coming, then maybe I can have a chance to get out of it. And so I think that it comes from a team effort, coming from the staff, and then also a group effort from the offensive line, the running back room, the receiver room, and me as well together as a unit. Because it's not just me getting out of a blitz, it's also my receivers be able to catch the ball within pressure, be able to catch it in man coverage when I have to take a shot. It's my O-line picking up twist game. There's a lot that goes into it.
For each of you, what are you most looking forward to with the spring session starting with this group?
Really just gathering that chemistry, just continuing that chemistry. Just kind of the first time we can get live football like experience. So really just building that chemistry because every team is a new team. So with this team, building that new chemistry, I'd say.
I'd like to say our team putting everything together, putting all the pieces together. We've had throwing sessions and blocking periods and things like that, but I feel like putting everything together will be fun to see, and that's pretty exciting to see all the guys coming together.
Yeah, I would agree with both those statements. I think you have the bits and pieces right now that are kind of starting to blend, and then when you get in the spring ball, it's like, all right, let's see if we can actually do it on the fly. I'm very excited to see the competition piece without the team. I think that's the best. Again, one of the best things about football is the competition and the competitive nature of the sport, and seeing a one-on-one matchup between an O-line and a D lineman, or a one-on-one matchup between a corner and a receiver. Like feeling that energy and feeling how tangible that is really exciting. That's what makes practice fun and football fun in general. And yeah, I think just being able to feel the energy during practice is what I'm very excited for.
Darius, can you speak to how you think you've grown as a person, like from day one of preseason last year to now coming into this new season, and just the love from the fans off the field and the NIL opportunities you've had?
I like to say, like, to all the fans and things like that, I appreciate everybody. It's really fun. It's a real experience. Like, having all the people that are actual fans and, like, seeing people out in public and they know who I am, that's honestly a blessing. It's really cool to see and, like, cool to be a part of. When it comes to NIL, I mean, I appreciate all the donors to the team and things like that. I mean, it's been great. Our whole entire team has been affected by it. It's a good thing. I feel like it's a great thing that's been added to college football. And then something that I've grown from in myself is trying to be a better leader. Coming in, I was kind of the youngest guy in the room, so I didn't have much of a voice. I should have had more of a voice, but I wasn't training myself to be like that. And now this offseason, I've been being a better leader and trying to bring the younger guys up, and even the transfer guys that have come in. They're not younger, but I've been helping them along the way and helping them with their process of transitioning to our team.
Darius, if you're going to get 200-plus touches this fall, is the number one thing you got to continue to learn from those older guys in the room about taking care of your body? Or what do you think, if you're going to get to those 200-plus touches, what has to happen?
The body is definitely the most important thing. The guys in the room are helping me with that. It's not just me that's taking care of their body. Pretty much everybody is. Everybody saw what I went through last year, so everybody understands like what it's going to take to keep your body up. Like I said, everybody's preparing to be the starting back. So everybody's holding themselves to that standard. So keeping their body in order, hydrating, sleeping, like maintenance plans. So everybody's working on that.
Let's take one or two more. We'll go with Ahmad in the back.
Max, obviously you're stepping up a level, coming to a bigger university, coming in as the quarterback one. There's a lot more pressure, a lot more scrutiny, and a lot more naysayers. What's your message to some of those doubters about you maybe not belonging here?
That's a good question. I think number one, the first part of the question really is playing quarterback. I think if someone can play quarterback at a high level anywhere, they can play just the same way at a different school. I think it's obviously the work ethic, the preparation piece that allows someone to be successful at a bigger university. I think it's one of the things I'll learn this year at Minnesota is that difference in scale. And I'm super excited for that challenge and that difference because I think Minnesota will be a really good test for me as a player, as a leader, as a quarterback to be put in that atmosphere and see how I can handle it. And that's what excites me. I think the excitement piece is what's going to allow me to block out the rest of the noise. And it's going to be able to strengthen my shell. I think having my team around me to be able to kind of explain to me how it actually works here and be able to bounce ideas off of them because they've experienced it and I haven't for the most part. So it's exciting. I think it creates a tighter team. It creates better chemistry and it ultimately leads to more success.
Anticipation is something I've noticed while studying your games. How have you developed and grown in that area over the years?
Yeah, I've never had the strongest arm. I've always trained with quarterbacks who have had way stronger arms than I have, and I've always felt behind just because they've been able to throw the ball farther and harder than me. And the thing that I had to improve at a younger age was to be able to throw to tight windows before they were there. And that number one comes from just growing up, learning how to do that, but also with two more things is preparation, knowing where and when the holes will be in the defense. And then number three is honestly the preparation with the receivers because I can't throw the ball to a spot if the receiver's not going to be there and vice versa. So without training with the guys for hours and hours and hours on end, there's no way that it can happen anyway. And again, that goes back to the desire to get better and grow. We're growing as a unit. The receivers, the running backs, and the O-line and the tight ends, like we're growing as a unit. And if we're not all on the same page, aligned at the same time, then there's not going to be any anticipatory throws, or there's not going to be success in general. That's that's the really exciting part.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right back.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Paul.
So are you taking over under the sixth? This is for coffee. I don't pretend to be an NFL draft.
I think you'll get picked before that.
So you think early day 3?
I'm thinking like maybe the fifth.
Is all you doing? That's like the confidence to be like, oh, there's 3. It's hard. Running back class. It's gonna cut it myself. There's a lot of jobs open though.
Yeah, I mean, and you saw what the second year, like the free agent running back.
You know, it's been resonating with me. The whole show. Justin Herbert.
All right, you talking about the left? Far.
Water right here.
Thanks.
To my right, Ethan Robinson, Danny Strigel, John Joiners. Go ahead and take questions, please.
Hey, Ethan, Andy Greeter with the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Obviously, you had some other schools interested in you, and PJ talked about kind of the recruiting process on signing day. What brought you to Minnesota?
Just the culture, everything that Coach Fleck, the program and the staff here stands for, I felt aligns and resonates with my values, my morals. Personally, just hard work, dedication, and just trying to make yourself better every day. All things that I take pride in, and just seeing that alignment was very nice for me.
How much did the conversation with Nick Monroe, someone you've known a long time, play a part in your decision?
That was definitely a key part of the decision as well. Just always having a relationship with the people that are going to interact with you every day was important for me as well. Just knowing what type of guy, what type of man you're going to deal with on an everyday basis. So that was also key as well.
Ethan, for those who haven't watched you play, how would you describe your style of play and things that you pride yourself on?
Physical, tough. I like to make plays on the ball, get the ball out the air. Turnovers are a big part of the game, and I really take pride in that. Just physical, tough, and take the ball out the air when I can.
For Ja and Danny, how was it working with Coach Winston in year 1, and how do you think it'll go even further in year 2, just knowing how detailed his work is and whatnot?
He's definitely not a complacent guy. He saw a lot of development out of our room last year and wants to see that same big leap forward this year, and so he's taken this off season as a chance to set the tone for what this spring and the summer and the fall, eventually when we get there, what it's going to look like.
Yeah, now this year we're in phase 2 of our pass rush progression, I guess, and he just wants to see more improvement, more attention to detail, and more of knowing the situations a lot more.
Danny, the way you win in the rush is going to be different than the way Ja wins. When you've been working with Winston here in the offseason, how are you trying to take your pass rush to that next level in your final year?
Yeah, I don't really believe in the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I don't like to call myself an old dog because I feel young, but in the in the world of college football, I'm getting old. So it's being able to pick up, some of the things that he's teaching these new guys, like Carter Menz and Theron, and being able to go out and apply those to my pass rush because, as a coach, he's still, Coach Debo still learns too, so he's learning new things every year, and it's maybe different than what I learned in my freshman year on how to, say flip my hips or use my hands, and so being able to pick up new things that he's teaching them and apply it to what I already know and my pass rush development, and then being able to learn from, guys like Ja, guys like Anthony, they all have different skill sets, seeing what they do really well and how they do it, and then adding that to my pass rush, profile.
Danny, you won't know until you're on the field with Cory, but what are some of the first impressions on what he's going to be like as a coordinator?
I like him a lot. If you'd asked me when I first got here if I would have liked to have the same coordinator throughout my time. I probably would have told you yes. But, you know, being an older guy on the team now, I kind of see the benefits of, you know, getting new coaches in. Obviously, we've had new D-line coaches, but never a new coordinator on our side of the ball. So having him in has just brought a whole new mindset. He's got a wealth of knowledge. I love the way he coaches. I love his mindset when it comes to how to play defense and, you know, how to be around the ball and how to be physical and violent. So, so far, I love sitting down and talking with him, sitting down and watching film with him. I love just how he goes about the game and how he goes about the defense.
Danny, can you give some examples of what you were just saying? Talking about, you know, how he goes about things and some a little bit drill down, a little bit.
Yeah, you know, it's his intentionality with, you know, the things that we do. So, like say we're in a walkthrough, you know, he understands that, you know, coming into a new defense, coming in year one of a coordinator, you know, not everything's going to be perfect. It's more like we always talk about the how around here. It's how we're doing something, and he has certain things that he wants to see from us when we go out there. We know everything's not going to be perfect, especially when we're, you know, in the winter, especially moving in spring ball, but too having a new coordinator. You know, it's tough on everybody kind of feeling each other out, seeing what we're going to get. So it's his intentionality with the way he teaches, the way, you know, he learns from us, you know, what we know, and then how we apply it onto the field, into the workouts, into the film room. Just kind of, yeah.
What stood out to you about the cornerback room so far that you've been able to notice over the winter workouts and whatnot?
Just like the gel and the glue to the room, everybody is together. Everybody's supporting each other. Everybody's pushing each other to get better. And I feel like personally, that's just the way I personally get better the best. And I feel like that's just the way that it's going to help and benefit the whole room. Just competing with each other each and every day, as well as just learning off of each other and learning from each other, similar to what Danny was saying about with their pass rush moves. So just different techniques that Coach Monroe may be teaching to one guy to help him out, just listening, overhearing that, and then interacting with them, and you know, just learn from each other and competing with each other. It's a real well-knit room, and we're real glued together.
Joe, you won't be sneaking up on any opposing offensive coordinators and offensive lines this year. So when you look at knowing you're probably going to be the number one guy people are going to be wanting to stop on passing downs, what are you working on this offseason to try and combat that?
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot more. I feel like it's more game plan. That's more getting me open. A lot more spots on the defensive line. Obviously, we have guys like Danny, Anthony, and all them to like help me out, I guess. And so yeah.
Ethan, like a unique kind of committing immediately after the visit here in Minnesota, and Coach Fleck shared the story about, like, I think it was your mom telling you had to cancel all your other visits afterwards. What was that situation like for you, and how did you know it was the one?
I mean, it was my dad, but yeah, you're good. It's a true story. I mean, that's just my dad, you know. That's one of his values. Commitments aren't to be taken lightly. Like, if you're going to commit to something, you're going to be 100%. And it was more so from the standpoint of, like, if this is what you're going to do and this is what you're serious, it's not something we're just going to throw around. Like, we're going to show that we're serious about this. So that's how my dad it is as a man. That's how he is as a person. So I wasn't surprised or thrown off by it at all. So it was something that was pretty routine for me. I think it caught Coach Fleck off guard a little bit. But, yeah, that's a true story. I mean, it's just my dad being my dad.
For Danny and John, we saw Anthony Smith get his feet wet last year, played 300-plus snaps with you guys. What do you think expectations should be like for him going into the spring and fall?
I feel like the expectations for him is just being more confident and being more just free and stop looking at, like, coach for, like, a call or something if he's doing something right. I feel like he just needs to be free and just needs to just go. He played a lot of football here now, and I feel like he's going to do that this season. And then, so, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like his expectations are for himself are way higher than, you know, than Coach Debo's are or Coach Fleck's are or any of us are for himself. But yeah, it's confidence. He's a big presence on the field when he's out there. It's just like he said, just being confident, not like having to look back and, oh, is this right or is this wrong? Like, just go out there and play. Like, if he the second he cuts it loose, and we saw it last year, and he does that consistently, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Danny and Joe, what's life going to be like without Kyler, and who's going to be in that spot? Do you
It's
think?
sad. It is.
It's sad,
It is. Yeah.
that was a big leader in our group.
Yeah.
He said everything, and this person I leaned on. So I feel like just his presence is just gonna just be felt.
Yeah, and it was good to see, KB and Chris at Pro Day and them go out there and put their stuff on. But yeah, we were really close with those two guys, so it's a little different not having them in the room, but it in turn brings the room closer together, opens up room for other guys to step up and lead. So.
How have you grown and evolved as a leader over the years now as you're kind of accelerating up into an even bigger leadership role this year?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I always look back and people are just like guys like Anthony just looking up to me, and I always look at the big O, so it was kind of just crazy. But I think just being more of the teacher and more of the I'm not more of a vocal guy, but I'm more like lead by example. So just like telling, just like giving just like little mental things to like the younger guys and stuff like that.
What are some of the things Big O's taught you that you've carried forward today?
I think his biggest thing was just confidence. I think I came in at 2:15 and stuff like that. So he just instilled confidence in me because he came in the same thing. So just instill confidence. Like that's why I tell Carter all the time, just stay the road, just keep eating, keep just working on your pastor's moves by yourself, because that's what I did, and because that's what Big O told me, and obviously Boy A told me the same thing. So yeah, it's just a process, and so yeah.
Ethan, what's it been like to develop a relationship with Justin Wally? He's been a long-time starter here. You've obviously been a long-time starter at Bucknell. Is it something to be said for having two veteran guys there starting on the outside?
I think so. I mean, as you can see with these two guys, just being a vet, it carries a certain weight, just in terms of leadership and in terms of what's expected in production on the field. But it also just brings a sense of a calming, I would say, for myself, just going into games. I'm not really that freshman out there that's kind of nervous, to make a mistake or anything. The confidence that they're trying to teach the young guys in their room is something I feel like is common with a veteran presence. And then just interacting with Wally, he's a great dude, great guy, obviously heck of a player. Just picking up tidbits from him on what he sees when he plays certain teams and things like that, just tendencies that I can start working on now, rather than wait till the season approaches. We have 15 opportunities coming up this spring, starting tomorrow, so I get to start implementing some of those things that I've been listening to him talk about and discuss with me starting tomorrow. So it's been great, it's been exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Danny, have you thought at all about the expanded Big Ten and no divisions this year? What that's going to be like playing in that?
Not necessarily. Just that there's more opportunities to play different teams. I think we talked about it the other day. If you ever thought as a kid you'd be playing in the Big Ten and then going to play UCLA and USC, and down the road having the opportunity to play Oregon and Washington, you would have said no. But it's an awesome opportunity. One, to be able to go out there. And we're playing the Rose Bowl this year in the Rose Bowl Stadium, so that's an awesome opportunity. And then to be able to play teams like that during the regular season, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to it a lot. It's not necessarily a different brand of football, but it's a little bit of a different style of football than getting out of the Big Ten West, where everyone kind of knows the style of football in the Big Ten West. So it's going to be exciting this year.
One or two more?
For John, Danny, do you think sacks are an overrated stat?
I think it is. I think it's more of a pressure. You gotta be able to affect the quarterback. That's what we always talk about in the room. Always affect the quarterback and always just create havoc in that backfield.
Yeah, I would say the sack stat alone, I would say, is an overrated stat. But if you go and look, like you said, we always look at affecting the quarterback. Maybe you don't even get a QB hurry or a QB pressure or a QB hit. You could see whether or not a guy affects the quarterback on a play, regardless of the stat. So I would say to a degree, yeah.
One final question? Everyone all set? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.